YouTube thumbnails. You see thousands of them all the time, and you even clicked on one just to watch this video. Now, thumbnails are obviously a huge part of YouTube, but it's not something that's really talked about very much. You know, thumbnails are YouTubers' version of creating a movie cover, or a game cover, or an album cover, or a book cover. It's basically a way for video makers on the platform to have to work on marketing and graphic design. And you know, I have to say that because of how competitive YouTube is, I think that YouTubers have become some of the best marketers of pretty much any industry. Because, well, a lot more work is probably going into a single movie poster or a single billboard or something like that. YouTubers have to keep creating a new cover, you know, every couple days. And they're competing with millions of other channels that are all just trying to one-up each other. So what actually makes a good thumbnail? Over time, people have definitely gravitated towards certain styles of thumbnails. Obviously, it's a huge thing to just have a big face on the thumbnail, or maybe a face next to some text. There's lots of very common practices like sharpening the images, or putting really bright colors, or just doing whatever you can to attract people's eyes when they're looking at the homepage. Now, I would say there's not really any such thing as a perfect thumbnail. Obviously, some are better than others, but a lot of it just comes down to what the video is actually about. Now, if you're a vlog channel, like let's say somewhere in your video you witness some major car crash, well, for that it's super easy. You know, there's the frame right when the cars are hitting or right when they're about to hit or something like that, and you just clip out that one frame and there's your thumbnail. But let's go through and look at a lot of examples that you'll see all over YouTube, and all sorts of different styles and tricks that people use. So I mean, first let's talk about Mr. Beast. I know I bring him up a lot, but this is a channel where I talk about what people do on YouTube, and Mr. Beast is kind of pioneering and leading the charge on a lot of things on YouTube, so I can't ignore him. So if you look at a lot of Mr. Beast thumbnails, surprisingly he doesn't have that much text on them. Usually with a lot of channels like this, there'll be some sort of reaction face, then with a picture of whatever they're reacting to, and then maybe with some text over it. But with Mr. Beast, he definitely has the reaction face, and he's definitely got something going on. He's giving you a very clear picture of what's going to be happening in the video. I mean, it's the same deal with the title, but you want to make it as simple as possible while getting the point across of what the video is about. But now let's take a look at a channel with some not so great thumbnails. Now, as you can see, these videos were all uploaded a long time ago. Thumbnails have definitely come a long way over the past 10 years. But let's talk about some ways that make a lot of these thumbnails really bad. I mean, one thing that has really become out of date is just like the bright rainbow background. I mean, I get that it catches your eye, but it looks so low quality compared to what kind of stuff you see today. Also, he's just kind of thrown a JPEG onto the image. Not cropped out or anything, it's just, there's a JPEG. And then another issue with a lot of these is just putting plain text on there with no sort of filters or anything. Usually if you want text on the thumbnail, you definitely want to put some sort of like outline to the text, like a drop shadow and a stroke. Especially if you cut the text close to the same color as the background. You don't want the text to be blending in. You don't want images to just be rectangles slapped onto the thumbnail. You want to be able to crop things out and make things blend together a little better. And you might be wondering, whose channel is this? Why am I picking on some no-name YouTuber for just making their own little content? Well, this is also Mr. Beast's channel. This was Mr. Beast's channel of 6 years ago. Anyways, let's look at another very modern style that's going on right now. Here we've got all Sniper Wolf's videos. I think she's only got like 3 or 4 images of herself that she will just copy and paste onto every one of her thumbnails on the side of it, as well as whatever she's reacting to. So I mean, most of what I want to point out in this video are thumbnails that have brought in millions of clicks. And so what is it that's actually bringing in the clicks from a lot of these? Obviously there's a lot of very clickbaity kind of reaction images. You know, like, oh, look how shocking this is, look how disgusting this looks, or look how satisfying this is, or you won't believe what happened here. You know, the really sort of clickbaity kind of thing. But obviously, Sniper Wolf also uses her looks to her advantage. So you got all the horny young boys that are clicking on this video because, ooh, there's a hot girl in this video. And then everyone else who's clicking on it because, whoa, look at all this clickbait. Now, what's kind of funny is you can pretty much always spot when there is kids content near. It's like a sense that just shows up because once you start seeing videos just super bright colors, I mean, you got Minecraft videos and Fortnite videos and just like challenge videos and prank videos. Like, these videos all have to have the most extreme faces, the brightest colors possible. I mean, people are just turning everything to the max. It's kind of like if you have a room where there's 10 people who are having a literal screaming contest of who can scream the loudest, and all of them are already at their limit. They're already screaming as loud as they can, but they're just trying to scream a little bit louder. I mean, everything is very high quality. They've obviously put a lot of work into producing a nice thumbnail. And so a lot of people usually will assume the best videos are always going to have the most elaborate, the most high quality thumbnails that take so much editing and just so much graphic design. They need professionals designing this thing. But then there's something that I feel like has gotten really common lately, is just uploading raw videos, usually really short videos. But just take a look at some of these ones. Like, man risks his life by cutting a 100-foot Californian palm tree. No custom thumbnail, just a vertically shot picture. You can barely even see what's going on, and yet it's got 12 million views. And here we have another one, Aventador crash, moments of impact. No custom thumbnail, just a frame from the video, 31 million views. And another one, F-18 Super Hornet breaks the sound barrier, 18 million views, and it's just a low-res picture of people standing on the beach. Or the ultimate one of all, just a video called Cameraman, with a guy holding a camera running alongside some track runners. And it's got 121 million views. Now, for somebody who's really into marketing, they're probably looking at this just completely baffled. Like, why is a picture like this getting over 100 million views, whereas there's so many other thumbnails that just have so much work going into them, and yet they don't see that many results pretty much ever. And it really just comes back to everyone on YouTube competing against each other for your attention. So there's really two things you have to do with a thumbnail. One is catch people's eye, meaning your picture on the homepage being surrounded by 100 other pictures stands out. Now that just means you have to kind of be doing the opposite of what everyone else is doing. So let's say that every other picture on the homepage is some overly dramatic reaction face with crazy things going on, but then your video is just like one solid color, a very basic looking thumbnail. Well, your video is going to stand out much more than all those other ones that are much more elaborate and much more crazy. As weird as that sounds, while everyone around you is doing everything possible to draw in as much attention as possible, and you're not, technically you're the one that's going to get more attention. So that's why I say there's two things that your thumbnail needs to do. One is catch people's eye from being the opposite of everyone else's. And then two, it has to look interesting enough and raise people's curiosity enough that they want to actually click on it. So some examples of very basic thumbnails would be Vsauce. Now if you just look at some of Vsauce's catalog, they're very short titles, very basic thumbnails, just like a single image of one thing. Like, you probably could have just Google image something and then use that as the thumbnail. But yet these videos are getting tens of millions of views. I mean, obviously Vsauce has a lot of power to his name, and so that helps a lot too. So let's talk about a problem some YouTubers run into, and that's trying to fit too much on a thumbnail. Have you ever been driving down the highway? I mean, you're seeing billboards left and right, but then you see a billboard where there's like a paragraph of text on it, and you're just like, I have like 2 seconds to read that, and it's small text. How am I supposed to read any of that? Well, that's the same thing as a major problem on YouTube. When you're working on a thumbnail, you might be seeing it in 1920 by 1080, like taking up your full screen. You're thinking, oh man, I can fit so much detail into this. But when that thumbnail actually shows up on YouTube, obviously it's going to be this tiny little thing. So you can't be putting like lots of detail into these because people just won't even be able to see it. I've noticed that the YouTube rewinds tend to do this a lot. I mean, they do a pretty quality job, let's be honest, but there's just so many little things they're trying to shove into these thumbnails, so many different faces, and part of it you're just like, I can't really see who any of these people are, but whatever. So whenever a commentary channel or a channel like this tries to make a thumbnail on something, it can be pretty difficult because you don't really have a lot of imagery attached to what you're talking about. And so you'll get a lot of thumbnails that just look like this. It's just a picture of a face pointing to whatever the topic is. You'll pretty much see that a lot on my channel. I will admit, a lot of my thumbnails on this channel in particular are not super great because I'm always talking about such meta and obscure topics that don't really have much imagery to go along with it. But I've had a couple videos in the past, for example, some where I was shooting off fireworks, where I would say, these thumbnails look a lot better than anything on this channel. You know, something I've wondered for a long time, could you technically make any video go viral with a good enough title and thumbnail? And I think the answer to that is most likely no. There's probably plenty of video ideas out there that have no potential to go viral, no matter how good at marketing you are. But one kind of weird example I ran into firsthand was last year when I made that video on the major changes coming to YouTube monetization. So this was a new update that came from YouTube where they emailed out, they're just like, all right, normally you need a 10-minute video to get mid-rolls, but we're gonna change that so now you can get mid-rolls on an 8-minute video. Now, of course, me and a whole bunch of other channels that talk about YouTube came out and made a video on the same topic. All of us just, you know, bringing you the same information. But let's just take a look at the different titles and thumbnails, all for this same video topic. So we've got the generic, like, you know, 8-minute videos will now be a thing. Big YouTube update, make more money with shorter videos. I mean, doing the exact standard you would expect, where it's just, here's the title and the thumbnail explaining exactly what this is about. But something I did, kind of, I guess unintentionally, was clickbait a little more, and on mine said, say goodbye to 10-minute videos, major changes coming to YouTube monetization. I mean, it's definitely more clickbaity and it's more dramatic, but this video brought in 700,000 views on something that most people probably don't find interesting at all. So that's a pretty good example, I would say, of just trying a bunch of different thumbnails and titles for the exact same video. But another nice thing for creators out there is that you can just go back and change titles and thumbnails and descriptions and tags whenever you want. I mean, obviously you can't really do much to the video file itself once it's up, but technically if you get a lot better at making thumbnails and doing titles and just general SEO, you can just go back to all your old videos, make new thumbnails for them, make new titles, just completely remarket every single one of them, and you might even see like a big spike in views again. You could even make some video from years ago start to go viral today. So again, it's all just about learning what other people are doing, copying the best parts, but also being different than them. So just to summarize what makes very common thumbnails, is very zoomed in, up-close faces with some dramatic, exaggerated expression on their face, very bright colors and very sharpened images, very often 2-panel or 3-panel images, or just screw all of that and just throw in a random frame from your video. Sometimes that'll work too. But anyway, hopefully this video was at all interesting. I've been so scatterbrained trying to think of how to talk about this, and so I think I'll end it there.